Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back again with this week's episode and all the physical releases coming to the Switch, September the 4th until the 8th. Before we delve into this week's episode, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor. Now, I know you guys, I've seen the analytics. If there's one thing I know about you, it's that you're not cozy enough. Yeah, I've seen that. Fae Farm is an upcoming farming live sim that will transport you to the magical world of Azoria, where you'll be as snug as a pig in a blanket and equally delicious. That's not a guarantee. You might not become more delicious as a result of this game, although, who knows? Has anyone tested it? But you will find an amazingly handcrafted experience built with love. Truly a love letter to the classics of the genre and then some. With an in-depth character creation tool, you can make the person you are or the person you want to be. I mean, who doesn't want to be a fairy stud? Build your character, build your home, build your farm, build your relationships. It's a game brimming with content you can get lost in, whether you're playing solo or with up to 3 friends online or local wireless. And Fae Farm is welcoming for everyone, and it's a game that is built to last because it's got marriage in it. It would be irresponsible if you got married in this game and then buggered off to a different game, yeah? Have some responsibility. Fae Farm is going to be available on PC and Nintendo Switch on September 8th. Please click our special link in the description to find out more information about Fae Farm and getting cozy for the fall. Thank you to today's sponsor, really appreciate it. Alright, on to this week's games, and boy am I excited about these. Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun is an awesome looking Doom style shooter. Some people may call it a boomer shooter, but that sounds disrespectful. It's like 3D but pixel or voxel style, all out balls to the wall action, and I'm here for it. I don't know anything about the 40k universe and I don't care to either. I'm not nerdy enough for that, but I am here for this. I'm sure it's hardly going to be a work of art, but the perfect game to sit down to after a long day's work. Just turn your brain off and go hell for leather. I might actually buy this one, and I rarely buy Western releases these days. And our executive producers Totally Grateful and God of Resin have chosen this as their pick of the week. And if you want to order this or any of the retail releases in this week's episode, then please check the links in the description, especially if you live in North America. VGP is a fantastic way to support this series, plus they have good prices in favorable Canadian money, they have retail releases, and they also have low print releases like hard to get games as well, and reprints, stuff like that. They have free shipping over 80 Canadian bucks, which is not a lot really. And if you purchase anything with our links, you can be in with a chance of winning a $10 discount coupon. And this week's winner is David B. Congratulations, you should get an email from VGP in the coming days with your discount coupon. Thanks for your support. Bear and Breakfast may have the most timid, non-threatening game title ever, but don't be fooled because it kind of is like that. This is a slow-paced management game where a bear makes a B&B. Because why not? They've got nothing better to do in their lives. I mean, they eat honey, they kill campers and teasers about whether or not they actually do poop in the woods. Why not do something useful and set up a hostel for other woodland creatures? This is highly rated on Steam, although I do wonder how well it will translate to the Nintendo Switch. And our executive producer Alex M has chosen this as his pick of the week. Death or Treat seems to be releasing in Europe this week. North America has to wait until next week. I'm not sure you're missing out on too much since despite the lovely looking artwork, reviews for this one seem rather unfavourable. Great production value, but perhaps they should have spent that money on a game design and programming course. I don't know, some people don't understand the hate or just say you need to get used to it, and admittedly, even I'm thinking it can't be that bad, can it? I mean, look how beautiful it is. Elderand may sound like they came up with the name first and then built a game around it, but again, this is a really snazzy looking game. Similar sort of gameplay to Death or Treat, but this is much more loved with tight controls and a decent amount of content for a Metroidvania. It's hard, of course, all about skill, reacting, lots of weapon variety, a decent amount of exploration with a grappling hook. I mean, you can't go wrong with a grappling hook. I mean, I heard you have to apply to the Ministry of Good Games before you can put a grappling hook in your game. And our executive producer Instacritic has chosen this as his pick of the week. NBA 2K24 is releasing this week, still milking the Kobe dry. They say it's to honor his legacy, but let's face it, it's just to honor their bank account. I don't really know what to say about this because it's basketball. The only thing I'm concerned about is if it's, download required. It doesn't say so on the box, but I'm pretty sure all the NBA games up to this point on the Switch had that, so we'll have to see. There are many versions available. Anonymous Code is finally releasing in English. How long has the wait been? After so long in development, we can finally experience the 6th game in the science adventure series, famous for, Steins Gate, Chaos Child, Robotics Notes, and from the reviews of the Japanese version, maybe it didn't quite live up to the long wait, but it's still going to be a great addition to anyone's visual novel library and will be a shining star within it. I'm just wondering, will we ever get a Cult 9? Why are we getting the 6th one, but not the 5th one? And our executive producers Alexander Cato and Jennifer M have chosen this as their pick of the week. Rune Factory 3 Special is releasing this week, and let me tell you, taking Pokemon out of the equation, which, let's face it, Einstein definitely would do, Rune Factory 3 was my most played DS game of all time. Like hundreds of hours, farming, beating the crap out of monsters, trying to woo the ladies in town. I loved every minute of it, and I have no doubt this will scratch that same itch, even though I am a bit disappointed with the visual presentation. It doesn't look like they put much effort into it on the Switch, especially the farming aspect, because that looks a bit embarrassing. But, that's the part I cared about the least. Who needs sustenance when you got babes to please? Aside from that, I can highly recommend this game. Of course, there is a nice special edition as well, if you want to purchase that. And our executive producers Ozgolo and Issa have chosen this as their pick of the week. Pups and Purrs Pet Shop is releasing in Europe this week after already being released in North America a few weeks back. Now, you may be surprised to hear, but I actually bought this game and I have actually played this game. Which, you know what that means? It means my daughter's been unwell and I wanted to make her feel better in video game form. And she seemed to like it, but she didn't really have much energy for it. It is cute though, it has a storyline, you feed the pets, you brush them in minigames, and so far, I haven't seen any sort of euthanasia. As of yet, but there's always time for euthanasia. Fae Farm, how can I forget about Fae Farm? It is releasing this week. Do me a favor, click the link in the pinned comment because I really think you need to check this out. The game has been hyped up a lot, even by Nintendo themselves, so you're getting some good stuff when they show it in a Nintendo Direct with its own segment and everything. It is releasing physically this week. Click the link, please. And our executive producer JCross7776 has chosen this as his pick of the week. Alright, the low print releases. Vagante is Limited Run's first release this week, at least I think it is, because I can't see anything. Have you ever thought about adding some lighting to your game? Would be nice to actually see stuff, although this is a well-loved action platformer with permadeath, so make sure you don't jump into those one-hit kill spikes, alright? You can pre-order this tomorrow. Interestingly, it's only $30, which is like the first game to be so in a long while from what I can remember. They don't do it often these days. Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection isn't $30, you won't be surprised to hear. It's a chubby T-Rex size $40 for a couple of ROMs that just aren't really that good. Yeah, they've got to please their Universal overlords, with this price. And this just stinks of Bill and Ted once again. It's a few versions of the same two games, Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park Part 2, The Chaos Continues. It's weird they don't explicitly state how many versions are on this game. It's almost like they're a bit embarrassed by the whole thing. And they don't even have the Sega games, which my memory may suggest to me they were the only decent ones to begin with. Whatever, you can pre-order this right now in too many editions and merch one can possibly know what to do with. Alright, the import section, Play Asia territory. Actually, this week there's not really that much that you can import, at least that you'd want to. There's 4 games releasing in Japan this week. 2 of them have English, but we either have it or we're gonna have it. And 2 that don't have English, maybe one of them will get it in the future. We don't know. But yeah, since there's nothing going on this week, I thought I'd go into another upcoming import section. I like to keep you updated. I recently did a big, massive imports video, and somewhere in there, but since, it was Gamescom, it's Tokyo Game Show thing happening right now, and there's been quite a few new announcements, and I want to give you all of the upcoming imports. Remember, they are not releasing this week, and it doesn't matter how many times I say this, somebody will say, oh yeah, I'm getting this week. No, you're not. It's not this week, alright? Anyways, remember, if you want to pre-order any of these upcoming imports, please use our links in the description. That massively supports us. PlayAsia is the #1 to support this channel. You can also get 5% off with our discount code SWTV23. Oh my god, it's going to be a massive end to the year. We're starting off with Sea of Stars. Now don't worry, do not worry, this is getting a Western physical release. I know I almost made all of you have a heart attack, but hear me out. It is getting a Western physical release next year, whereas Japan is getting it in December with, in my opinion, better artwork. It screams adventurous RPG more than, a boy and a girl sitting down in a slightly awkward first date. At least that's what it looks like to me. So yeah, if you want this amazing RPG earlier with, in my opinion, better artwork, then go for this one. You might want to pre-order it. And our executive producers Precision Plague, Vey, Thorn Metaluna, Feig and Dane Wilkinson have chosen this as their pick of the imports. Devil Engine is a highly sought after physical. People have been gagging for this release for ages and it's finally coming. It also comes with a bonus game, which is nice. This is like a classic horizontal shooter, something like Technosoft would create if they were still creating games today. It's balls hard but very good, and it's coming physically in October. Genso Skydrift is finally getting a physical release. I know I'm weird, but I genuinely was waiting for this. It released on the eShop ages ago, but now the physical release is coming. It's a Toho game, but as a kart racer, who can say no to that? And PlayAsia doesn't actually state it has English, but considering the Japanese eShop version does have English, this should too. Otherwise, there's some shady stuff going on if it doesn't. But it should do, alright? And it's coming in early November. Gravity Circuit is not a game that has English confirmed as of yet. However, I would be massively shocked if it didn't have English, considering the Western digital release has all languages including Japanese, so I assume they'll just use the same build for the Japanese physical and digital release when that happens. They'd actively need to be snidey for English to not be on here. This is essentially like an old school Mega Man game, which looks pretty awesome. Obviously, you may want to wait for official confirmation about English before pre-ordering though, just thought I'd give you a heads up. Baten Kaitos I II is getting a Western physical release, but only in Europe, and I thought, Americans would want to know that they're missing out on 2 GameCube classics. Alongside the European version, there's also an Asian and Japanese physical release, and if you're into RPGs, you will certainly want to pick these up in a lovely double pack. Sanabi is another one of those games where English isn't stated by PlayAsia themselves, but I've looked at Japanese retailers, websites, and yeah, English is stated on those, so it should have English. PlayAsia just haven't updated it yet. This is a fantastic looking side-scrolling action platformer that's been in early access for a while, which, that doesn't seem like the genre to fit that kind of release, but oh well. This should be a full fat release, and it's coming in November. Infinity Strash Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai. I've always said this is probably getting a Western release, but considering we're only like a week or 2 away from the actual release, it looks like it's an import exclusive. And what an exclusive it's gonna be! Might actually be the biggest import this year aside from the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. This is a famous manga and anime brought into a video game, an action RPG, and it looks bloody fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on it, despite the slightly daft name. Both Asian versions and Japanese versions have English. PlayAsia doesn't say that, but it is true, alright? And I know most of you want the English Asian cover, which the Asian version theoretically should have, but the Japanese version is quite a bit cheaper because the Japanese economy right now. And our executive producer Parsnip Coffee has chosen this as her pick of the imports. Gensei Suikoden Plus. No, not that Suikoden. Gensei Suikoden, not Genso Suikoden. Different games, as you can see. Again, PlayAsia does not say English, but I cross-checked with other Japanese retailers and they do say it has English, and I for one, I'm rather excited. And yes, it's only because it has the name Suikoden. It's coming in a reasonably priced standard edition and a nice collector's edition, and it's a charming looking indie JRPG that furries, you'll be getting a semi for. River City Rival Showdown is a remake of the original River City Ransom. all nice and beefed up for modern audiences. High school has never been more aggressive. There's even a new fighting game mode thrown in for good measure. Interestingly, there is a collector's edition, but that is exclusive to PlayAsia, even has their logo on it and stuff, and that comes with some nice stuff for a really decent price. Mugen Souls Z is a big release also for PlayAsia, another one of their exclusives, and this is a JRPG sequel to Mugen Souls, which I did do a review of. I got a review code for this, but I don't know where I'm gonna find time for it, to be honest. I've got a lot of stuff to do. My full-time job is back up and running for another year of pain, but maybe I'll find time to do a mini review amongst the 7 other projects I've got on the go. There is a standard edition and a collector's edition still available, and our executive producer Cartoon Soren has chosen this as his pick of the imports. Koumajou Remilia 2 Stranger's Requiem is releasing in December in Japan, a sequel to a game I reviewed and a game that just recently went up for pre-order at limited run, so I guess this one could turn up on their website in like a year or so, but I doubt it will be cheaper than this. It has really gorgeous artwork and no doubt will have much painful side-scrolling action gameplay. There's a standard edition as well as a collector's edition. Double Dragon Collection is exactly what it says, 6 Double Dragon games in one package, with the 2 highlights being Advance and Super Double Dragon, which haven't appeared very often in re-releases. I'm not a huge fan of this genre, but I know some people are massively nostalgic for these, so good luck to you when it releases in November. Princess Maker 2 is one I'm kind of stupidly excited for. I mean, you know, old school Japanese PC games that the West missed out on, I'll eat this up all day long. There's something about the style and visuals and the music that makes me massively nostalgic for something I never had, but I want it now. Princess Maker 2 reinvented. It may sound like it's for kids, but I would not give this to my daughter. I mean, you can make her a ruthless dictator if you want to, so I've heard, so yeah, it's not for kids, even though it sounds like it. There's a standard edition and a collector's edition coming in late December. Magical Drop 6 is a game that Forever Limited took pre-orders for in, well, Europe. I'm not sure how that's going, but it's not a retail as far as I'm aware, so this Japanese version is not only more affordable, but more accessible. A cool action puzzle game. Yohane The Parhelion, Blaze in the Deep Blue, as I can't really say all this. It's an awesome looking side-scrolling action game from Inti Creates. I believe it's based on an anime or something, but I don't know or care about anything like that. Just look at the game, it looks great. Of course, since it's Inti Creates, there's no doubt Limited Run will probably do this at some point, but if that's not important to you, then this Japanese version will be a good option in November. Passpartout 2 is an artist simulator. As a street artist, you have to paint and then flog your creations and then slowly build up your bank balance, which I feel is the antithesis to most classic artists. I mean, if you don't die in a drunken squalor, can you really call yourself an artist? I don't think so. Dyschronia, Chronos Alternate, was originally a VR game, an adventure game with sci-fi themes. It seems low on actual gameplay from what I've seen and plays more like a visual novel, just with, you know, slightly different presentation. It looks pretty cool if you're into these sorts of games, and the Switch version comes with a brand new scenario. This is coming out in late November. Airport Hero Allstars is another game in the Airport Hero series. I've been told it's slightly different from the first one. Like, they look almost identical, but this has officially licensed airliner brands and also has updated weather system and stuff. And yeah, this is coming in October. And our executive producer Brent McLean has chosen this as his pick of the imports. DodonPachi Blissful Death Reincarnation is a highly anticipated shooter, a physical release from M2. This is a different DodonPachi from the one Limited Run did. Same series, different game, so even if you own that one, you'll probably want to pick this one up as well, although at the time of writing they closed pre-orders because I think too many people pre-ordered it already. Bloody M2. Requiem 2 is releasing in Japan in December. There's no word on English, but I don't think it's totally necessary, even if these developers like to add more text to their shooters than usual. Expect something really weird and wonderful. I'm sure those who imported Illmatic Envelope Swamp and Requiem 1 Double Pack will know how weird they can be. Macross Shooting Insight, again, is a game that may not have English, even though the game's website has an English version, so there is hope. But either way, if you like Macross, why wouldn't you love this shooter? I don't know anything about the series aside from Classic Game Room says it's the greatest thing in history, so it could be a nice gateway for me. Maybe I'll give it a shot. It's releasing in January. And our executive producer Robotech has chosen this as his pick of the imports. Of course he has. Get Me Out Please is a survival horror game, I think with an online focus, but I'm not entirely sure. There's not much info about it, but it does have English, and the gameplay has you wandering around school with teamwork trying to not get killed, pretty standard. The Curse of Kudan is a visual novel from Prototype, the same people who published Grisaya, so there's chance for some quality here. It's also a Yuri VN, so girl-on-girl action, over 12 hours, so not the longest VN out there, nor the shortest. I think it's the perfect length for a VN in my opinion. So yeah, it's releasing in late December. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy is releasing sometime next year. It has Ace Attorney games 4 to 6 in one package, which is kind of the second wind of the series. They tried to put Phoenix Wright on the back burner, unsuccessfully obviously, but all 3 games are essential for adventure and mystery fans. I can't wait for this one. It's possible there might be a North American release that we don't know about. We'll have to see. Kemco RPG Selection Volume 5 is releasing in early December and is a much more enticing prospect than Volume 4 because none of these games had other releases elsewhere, on the Switch of course, as Divine Menace, Wizards of Brandel, Seek Heart and Innocent Revenger, and best of all, it comes in the best shade of purple. Love that luxury royal colour. Hana Awase New Moon Collection is 4 physical releases in one. Yeah, you can buy them individually if you want to, or just do the sensible thing and get this giant box set of them. I don't know anything about them aside from that they're Otome games with English. The Fox Awaits Me Hana is coming this November. More Fox Girl goodness, just like the original. Not the longest experience ever, but if you're a furry romance fan, this Japanese folklore-infused goodness will fill your pants with joy. Goblin Slayer. Again, this was announced so early I'm almost tired of talking about it by now, but we're getting closer to release, I guess. There's no actual release date for this, so yeah, we could be miles off, but unless the laws of the universe have decided to switch it up, we must be moving closer to it no matter what. Valis Collection 3 obviously won't have English, and at least not until Limited Run get their hands on it anyways, but as per usual, unless you're the most stringent of weebs who actually think the story is deep and meaningful, then English, it ain't important at all, trust me. All I'm wondering is, how long can they keep milking this? I mean, it's nice to have Valis back, but I'm sure it would have made a bigger splash if they'd have just been all together on one cartridge rather than 3 volumes. Although, where is Valis X, guys? Is that going to be Volume 4? And just a quick roundup of the Play Asia exclusives that are still needing to ship out. I mean, some might be getting ready to be dispatched around now, but yeah, there's Kwaidan Azuma Mana Story, Bridge Curse Road to Salvation, Sword and Fairy in 2, and Dead in Vinland, which you couldn't pay me to review unless it was £300 and fine. I'm here for you, East Asia Soft. Whew, we are not done yet, guys. Strap in because it's the spotlight section. Firstly, me. Oh yeah, it's time for some Tasomachi. I recently got this in from Play Asia because it was discounted. I have it digitally. I liked the game reasonably enough when I reviewed it, and the physical version for 20 bucks, yes, all day long. And I think, at least for at the time of writing this, on Saturday, it is still 20 bucks. So yeah, it's an import exclusive with English. It's got some stunning cover art, and the game itself, while a bit ropey, is one of the most relaxing experiences I've had in a long while. It's a collectathon platformer, but there's almost no real threat. You can't die, you can barely fail. It's all about searching out the little secrets. There's a little bit of a challenge room like in some places, but most of the time you're exploring misty cities trying to make the fog go away. It reminds me of a short hike, but a bit longer, like twice, 3 times as long. And if you want to purchase this with the amazing inner and outer artwork, check the links below. Hopefully it's still 20 bucks. Alright, on to you lot. Just a quickie this time, guys, okay? Executive producer Instacritic sent in this photo, including a game I genuinely have no memory of, One Shot. Obviously, the initial guess was Limited Run, and yes, I was correct. Limited Run apparently did it, and it was this year as well. Shows how quickly the impression leaves one. Lewis K sent in this photo showing off the slightly more fancy cover version of Romancing Saga Minstrel Song, the remake of the original game. Remember, this was released a few months after the Southeast Asian version, which people complained about, the basic artwork. Well, this ain't basic. If anything, they've overcorrected it. Still nice though, I like both. Executive producer Cartoon Soren showed off some recent arrivals from Play Asia, which just goes to show the variety they can have in their exclusives. Look, not a single side-scrolling grim Metroidvania in sight. Min Q sent in this photo, picking up a few releases from Limited Run at the bottom there. Actually, at the weekend, VGP did get like 80 Limited Run games back in stock, including these ones. They had Fata Morgana, but it sold out in like 3 minutes, which disappointed me and my affiliates. I think we only got like 4 sales of that one. James sent in this photo, super heavy on the imports again, I like it. Hardcore Mecha is one that is often forgotten. It did get a Western release via Red Art Games, but is one of their quicker sellers, like one of the few that sold out like in a flash. Shame really, because it's a fun game. Executive producer Offphone showed off the little collector's edition of Tunic, which comes with a lot of decent stuff that really enhance the game experience, like a map, things like that. Annibal sent in this photo showing a haul from Limited Run with Escaluda 2. Kinda jealous about that, I wish it would get a Japanese release, come on. Executive producer Alex M sent in this photo showing off 4 games, including the much loved Demon Tilt. I love pinball, but sadly it's been years since I've actually played any video game pinball like thing. Actually, that is a lie. I did complete Sonic Adventure a few weeks back, which has an awful but incredibly charming pinball section. Executive producer Vei, my man in Japan, sent in this photo. Even though he lives in Japan, he still has to import some stuff from Asia, like Etrian Odyssey, Nobunaga. The Japanese versions of those don't have English, so he needs to get the Asian regions ones. Executive producer Precision Play picked up these, including Fairy Tail, which a few years back was one of the most expensive Switch games to buy because it was rare, but it did get restocked, and I think VGP still have some copies as well. It's a good JRPG. El Noel sent in this photo, again with a lot of Limited Run stuff. Maybe they sorted their shipping system out, or maybe these are from VGP, which they could be. They're the best place to get Limited Run stuff after the fact. Max Tai sent in this photo with the collector's edition of Rhapsody in the lovely pastel pink. Lovely game. I can't wait to play the first game though. They are connected story-wise because the second game has you playing as the daughter of the first game's hero, which is a neat concept. Alright, let's have a roundup. Kresalak, Shane L, Robin H, Andrew R, McLaren, That Bloody Sadomasochist, Gundam Wing Zero, Elissa, Needless Dragon, Starby, Nucky McFlynn, Wankle Rotary Engine. Alright, please send me your pictures on Twitter at SoWhatAboutGame, DM me. We have an email address, switchwatchspotlight@gmail.com, and our Discord. You can submit it in the submission section. But please only send me 1 picture per week, okay? Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Get Physical. Special thanks to our executive producers, as always, Dane Wilkinson, God of Resin, Boombox, Brent McLean, Santa Tartaruga, Alexander Cato, JCross7776, Punkadusa, Cartoon Soren, Robotech, Z, Raven Knight, Thorn Metal Luna, Parsnip Coffee, Issa, They, Mental Traveler, Offphone, Jennifer M, Instacritic, Precision Play, Kadacha, Ozgolo, Totally Grateful, Alex M, and Fee, plus you. Yeah, you watching right now. If you watched all the way through, I would like to know who you are. Please leave me a bear emoji in honor of Bear and Breakfast. Do they actually poop in the woods? Will we ever find out? I don't know.